everybody, good morning. This is Jean here, Jean Truelove from Truelove Quilts for You. I'm working on, or I'm beginning to work on my Row Along with Jean, row your quilt with Jean, my row by row quilt project. I'm making this for beginners, okay? And as I said, I've gotten a lot of comments that people probably are going to be personalizing their quilt if you're more an experienced quilter. It's sort of just the idea. But again, if you beginner quilters just want to follow with me, but before I get to my tutorial here, I just wanted to acknowledge some of the lovely comments that I had received. Oh, this is free. I did not really know. I thought about the SAL, sew along. Apparently on YouTube or on Facebook, there are groups that you can follow along, but then you have to buy the pattern or maybe even the fabric. Now, that probably is a good idea for people to be able to make money, because to make a pattern is really hard. And as you know, I have a pattern here. Which I had showed you before, and it's not to scale, and it's sort of all over the place, and it's just an idea. And as I've done my channel here for the last several years and doing tutorials, I've gotten so many requests like, well, I follow a pattern, can you make a pattern? Like I need written instructions. Well, good luck with that. Go to another SAL, because I don't do that. I do what I do. I'm not making up patterns. I'm like, can't you just watch the video? And again, that's how I make money, if you watch my videos. So watch it over and over and over again. It's a heck of a lot of work, but I do it for free. Somebody else said, oh, I could listen to you chat for hours. Oh, I couldn't. I give myself a headache. I gotta go lay down. So she said, I'm a rose among thorns and a good friend. We are all such good friends out there. I don't know about the rose among thorns. I think my kids would disagree. Oh, the last video I put up a photograph of, I'm going to be doing 3 at a time. I don't think I'm going to do any on this video, because I'm getting quite a few. But I had gotten a picture from Jeanette, and I could not pronounce her name. So she kindly said, it's Lefebvre, the English way to say it. Isn't that interesting? Because it was like BRVE or something, so it's Lefebvre. Jeanette Lefebvre, thank you very much for your picture. And now I know how to pronounce your funky name. I'm going to be doing my tutorial. Oh, it fell. Oh my, hold up. It fell. I'm going to be doing my tutorial today on my pinwheel block. I'm doing the tutorial on this block here, okay? Super simple. I've made 4 of these. Now, as I go along in my video, I'm saying, oh, I'm making 5, I'm making 5, I'm making 5. I made 4, okay? I made 4. They're large, they're 12-inch blocks. And I made 4 because that right there is 48 inches, whereas 5 would be 60 inches, right? So, for a beginner, perhaps the 48 inches and then a little bit of an upright vertical on either side would take it to maybe 70 inches or 65 inches, which by a little bit taller, which I think is doable for a beginner. And again, I am tailoring my video here to a beginner. So as you know, when I'm doing a block, maybe an expert can make it in about 10-15 minutes, and I take 25 minutes to explain it, and then I have to fast speed it, because it takes a while for me to video and explain how to make a very simple block. I'm making four half square triangles. There's many ways to make half square triangles. I'm going to be doing a couple of those methods as I go along. But again, this is the simplest block. This is a very large block for, I think, beginners to start with. Again, just 4 of them. I cut out each one separately. I show you how I did the tutorial on this one. I cut out the separately. Now on my pattern, as you can see, obviously it's not to scale, because I have 3 pinwheel blocks down here, and that's obviously not to scale. That's only 36 inches. And then I have like 10 6-inch blocks. So there's my pattern. You want to pay for it? Oh no, I don't think anyone would pay for that. But anyway, it's my idea in my head. So as I go along, this will evolve. I did see a pattern for a tulip block, which is pieced, not an applique, because a lot of people are like, oh, you know, appliques are hard, appliques. I'm going to make it really easy. I'm really going to make it easy, and I'm going to describe step by step. But before I digress, before I get to that, we're just going to be making a simple pinwheel block. There it is. I've done my tutorial on the yellow and the cream, the script fabric I have. Now, as you can see, you don't need to have a white or a light background. You just need the contrast. So again, I deem this as medium and light, but then this as dark and medium. And then again, medium and light, and then that dark and medium. So whatever I have my fabric line, I have my Prairie line by Lori Holt from Riley Blake that I'm using. I'm using my whole, ow! Oh, there is a pin in there. Oh, I put this up on my design wall, and look, I just found a pin. Oh yeah, I had stuck it up on my design tablecloth. I have a design tablecloth, flannel back tablecloth. Oh, I just pricked myself. Yeah, I'm using a fabric line, but again, awesome for scraps. This is going to be maybe the largest pieces we're going to be needing, or some are a little bit longer. I think couple of the ideas I have, but that'll come when it comes. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this video to come. Again, it's just a tutorial on a sweet little pinwheel block. If your points don't match, do not sweat it, please, please, please. But at the end of the day, your block should measure about 12.5 inches. It's all good. So I hope you enjoy this. Thank you very much for following along. And again, thank you for your lovely comments. Oh, very, very good idea, real quick, a coloring book. If you do get a coloring book or cookie cutters, if you do get to the stage where you're comfortable making appliques. But yeah, I'll get to that. So again, hope you enjoy this video. Thank you so much. Oh, over the weekend I watched the coronation. I got up at 3 o'clock in the morning, the coronation of King Charles. I'm a geek. Yeah, it was lovely. The horses and the parades and the music. It's wonderful. Really, really lovely. So anyway, thank you so much, and I do hope you are having a lovely day, and love from the Trueloves. Bye-bye. As I was showing you before, the very, very easiest block for this very, very beginner project is going to be a 4-patch, which is a two grid, 1, 2, 3, 4. But we're going to be making a larger block, okay? We're going to be starting out with probably the largest block that's in my quilt, to make it easy for you beginners. And that is a pinwheel block. I'm going to be opening up my fabric. I'm going to be showing you how we're going to be making this pinwheel block and how it's going to end up looking. Now, a pinwheel block is made up of half square triangles, 2 different fabrics, usually one lighter and one darker, okay? And I'm going to be doing it the traditional method. There are tons of ways that you can make pinwheel blocks, half square triangle blocks, but I'm going to be showing you the absolute traditional way of cutting out the patches and putting them together. So there is our pinwheel block that we're going to be making 12 inches. And the reason I'm choosing a 12-inch is because it's a nice big square to deal with for you very, very beginners, and also for people who want to just go back to basics and do a nice simple block. Now, I'm going to be opening up my pack of fabrics here, and I'm going to be choosing some fabrics that have a contrast. Now, as I was saying in the very beginning, you saw that I'm also using my here we go, my script fabric, right? But there are some lights and there are some darks. Now, it doesn't always mean that you have to have a white and a dark, okay? It doesn't necessarily mean that I have to have a green and a cream over here. I could do to make a nice contrast, but I could do a light tan and a green, say, if I wanted. Or a light blue, say lavender with a darker red. Okay, so you don't necessarily have to have a white and a dark, okay, or a huge contrast. What you do need is a contrast. So I'm going to open up my package and I'm going to start making. I'm going to make 5 of these blocks, okay, 12-inch blocks. I'm going to be making, so as I said, I'm going to be making 5 of my pinwheel blocks, my large pinwheel blocks. I have chosen from my fabric pack here, I've chosen 5 combinations that I quite like. Now, what I've done here is I have opened up my fat quarters and I have cut off from my yardage a little bit of a bigger piece, which has 2 pieces in it. And I'm just going to make sure my selvage, I have enough room there. I'm going to cut, these are generous, my fat quarters. I'm going to cut 2, I'm going to cut the 4 pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4, making sure that I have it all in there. Neaten up this one side. I'm going to cut 2 of fabric 1, 7.5 inches, and I'm going to cut 2 of fabric 2, 7.5 inches. So I'm cutting 4 pieces here because I know I have a nice sharp rotary cutter here. I'm going to make sure all these selvages on my fat quarter are away. I'll just neaten up this edge, making sure everything is nice and square. So I'm going to start from that point on. I have a 9.5 inch ruler here. So now I'm going to find my 7.5 inch, and I'm just going to go up here. And again, make sure I have all my fabrics, excuse my arm. Just cutting up that over to there. And I'm going to turn my fabric around like so, because I have my nice straight cuts here. You can do it however you're comfortable cutting, but this is how I'm comfortable cutting. My straight. So then I'm going to find my 7.5 from here, which is over to here. 7.5 on my ruler, down to 7.5 on my ruler here. Making sure I have it all nice, and then I just have 2 more cuts. There and there. Oops. So I have a nice bit of my fat quarter left and just a little bit of scrap there. Okay, so now I have my 4 pieces of fabric. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be marking this, okay? Again, this is a very basic block, but this is what we have to do to make our half square triangles. So my script fabric, okay, is here, and it's almost reading white and yellow right there. But I'm going to turn it the pretty side, the correct side of the fabric to the correct side of my fat quarter here, matching them up. They're perfectly 7.5 inches. And then I'm going to turn them. And I'm going to get a little bit of a larger ruler. And then I'm going to take a pen or a marker. Put that up there. And I'm going to take my marking from the diagonal to the diagonal. I'm going to be making a line. Now you can use a marker, a pencil. I usually use a pen. I usually sort of start in the middle, so my fabric is nice and straight. And then just for argument's sake, I'm just going to put a pin here just to hold my fabrics together. So I'm behind my machine here. I've done a test stitch, which you always want to do when you start out with a project. And I have my 2 pieces here that I have just marked. Now, what you want to do is we're going to be stitching a 1/4 inch away from that line, okay? We're not stitching on the line. You hopefully will have your 1/4 inch marked on your plate, or you have a 1/4 inch foot, which I have. We're going to be starting at one corner and stitching a 1/4 inch away. There is no need to back stitch. It's not garment stitching, because in quilting all of our stitches intersect with each other. I'm going very slowly, 1/4 inch away from that marked line. My fabric's staying nice and together because I have my pins. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop there with my needle down, and I'm going to grab my other piece here, okay? And I'm going to just lift up my presser foot just slightly, and I'm going to start my next one. I'm going to start my next piece here. Down one side, 1/4 inch. Take it steady. There's no rushing this if you're brand new. Now I'm going to come off of my fabric here, put my needle down, put my presser foot up, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to very carefully pull this out, not stressing this thread here, and I'm going to turn that around, pull that thread out about 3 inches, and then I'm going to tuck back my presser foot, and I'm going to come back on the other side of my marked line, 1/4 inch. Up and trim, and then clip your seams there. You can take your pins out. And then now what we're going to do with a pair of nice sharp scissors or your rotary cutter with your ruler, doesn't matter, we're going to very, very carefully cut on the line. We're going to very carefully cut on that marked line. And there we have 4 half square triangles. So I have my pieces here, and I'm going to set that seam. Now for you beginners, what that means is we're ironing, we're just pressing that seam there, and that's pushing those little stitches into the fabric. So you end up with a much nicer fabric, a much nicer block. Now what I'm going to do is with the tip of my iron, I'm just going to nudge that seam over to the dark side. You see that? I'm pressing it to the darker side. With my other fabrics, if it's a medium and dark, it's going just to go to the dark side. This is a light and a dark. Pressing that seam really nice. And I'm just going to continue. Set my seam, flip it over, and press up to the dark, just nudging it so you don't get any little tucks or folds. So here are my blocks right now, and it might be handy to have a little reference point here, because what we're going to do, we're going to put the dark where it belongs over there, like this, like so, and then we're going to figure it out where this one goes and then where this one goes, and there we go. We have a lovely pinwheel block. However, before we put this block together right now, I'm going to trim down my individual blocks to 6.5 inches. Okay, I could do it at the very end to do a 12.5 inch, which I have a large ruler here, but most of you don't. So what we're going to do, again, we're doing this the absolute traditional way of doing this. There are many ways to make half square triangles and pinwheel blocks, but I'm doing it the very traditional quilter's way. I'm going to be individually taking my ruler here, which this is a 9.5 inch ruler, and most of your rulers you're going to have a diagonal line right across. Okay, I'm going to put that first line, the diagonal line, from there to there, and I'm going to go halfway between. Here's my 6.5, so it's about 1/4 inch down here, about 1/4 inch over here. I'm going to make sure that that ruler line is on my diagonal. I'm just going to trim 2 sides, this one and this one up top, like I did before. There and there. And then I'm going to turn that around, because I know those 2 edges are perfect. And I'm going to find the diagonal again. Where is it? Right there. And I'm going to absolutely find my 6.5. Oops, I'll get them out of the frame here. I'm going to find my 6.5, which is right there. This is right here. My 6.5, which is right here. And these are the perfectly square sides. Perfect. 6.5. And then I'll trim off these 2 sides.
So now I have my perfectly trimmed off half square triangles, and again I'm going to now configure them. The dark, I want on this one I want the dark and the light, and the dark and the light to make our pinwheel. And it's best to have a little diagram because you can get confused. And there, with our 1/4 inch seams, is going to become a lovely, beautiful 12-inch block when it's finished. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the wrong sides, I'm going to take my top row, and I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch down to here. And these seams here sort of nest together, okay? I'm going to go over to my machine and I'm going to stitch that row there. And then I'm going to do the same with here. Keep it in front of you. And these seams here nest together. So again, at my machine, I'm taking my first one, my first block, making sure my edges are all nice and together. I'm doing a perfect 1/4 inch seam. So I'm going to cut those apart, and then I'm going to open that up. Now what you should have at the end of the day here is a 1/4 inch from there to there on each bit here, okay? You should have a 1/4 inch. There's my 1/4 inch on this side, and there's my 1/4 inch on this side. What I'm going to do though, I'm going to go over and I'm going to press this seam over to, I'm going to set it, and I'm going to press it to this dark here, and I'm going to set this seam, and then I'm going to press it to the dark here. And then I will be back, and we put the pretty sides together, matching or nesting those seams right there, and we should have a perfect 12.5 inch pinwheel block. So I press these really nice and flat, and again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this top row, making sure that my pinwheel is going around exactly like I like it. I'm going to take my top row and I'm going to flip it over to my bottom row here, my 4 patch. And the most important part here is now matching up these seams, matching up these there's a little triangle there and a little triangle there. Now there's 2 schools of thought. You can put a pin right in the center of that if you wish. Then you can put a pin on the either side of it if you want. I'm just going to put a pin. Hopefully that will do. We've pretty much trimmed our blocks lovely. I'm going to start up at this end, 1/4 inch. Go slowly. The 1/4 inch here is important so as to not cut off the point. If you do, I keep saying don't worry about it. I'm going to come up to my pin, take my pin out, and then I'm just going to go slowly over that little bunch of seams and back down to the bottom, and hopefully we have a pretty pinwheel block. Now I always pinch and I pull my thread so as not to stress that end seam there. Now this is the, oh, it's so pretty. Oh, it's a little bit off. You see that? That's a little bit off. It's about 1/8 inch off, but to my mind, it is perfect. It is so lovely. Now, a lot of times what people do is they sort of cut this and they pinwheel it. But what I do is I'm going to press this seam open. So here is my almost perfect pinwheel block. Again, it's just slightly off, but look at that from a distance. It's perfect, okay? Awesome, awesome, awesome. Now, what I do have, as I was saying, I have, what is this, a 14.5 or 15 inch ruler here. It's a big one. But now I'm going to measure. I'm going to find my one. I'm going to go measure to see if this measures, if my block measures 12.5 inches. And there, hopefully you can see that, there is 12.5. So I hope you've enjoyed making your first pinwheel block. It's a large one, and this will be the largest blocks we make, or our largest row, I should say. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this, folks. Okay, follow along for more. Love from the Trueloves. Bye.